And good morning, everybody. How are you this morning? Happy Sunday. I hope the weather where you are is better than the weather where I am. It's a little dreary out there, but I hope you're all doing well. Hope you've had a good week. I see y'all are getting started early this morning, so I got a lot to catch up on here in the chat. I already saw a few topics fly by, so you know the drill. Go ahead and get your topics in the chat if you haven't already, and I'll start to put those on our list. All right, so I had to scroll way back up here. By the way, I think you guys may realize this, but you do know, I bet that I put the comments on the screen so that, there's no chance that YouTube or anyone else can, after the fact, take comments away from the video. Okay, so there's things I do like that are simply for reasons of posterity, making sure that we can't be censored as little as possible. I know they can censor us on the front end of some of the comments we put, but the best of my ability, I'm trying to make it so that we can't be silenced here. So anyway, with that, I'll just go back up here. I know, let's see, Robert, you mentioned very early on, and I can't even scroll up to it in y'all's view, but you said Psalm 58, 1-3, the wicked are estranged from the womb, they go astray, and you ask, are we all wicked? So I'll put that on my list here. Start to get some of the things ready that I probably should have already had ready here. I was spending a lot of time, by the way, yesterday making sure my website's up to date. There was a couple things I had needed to get updated there, and the homepage now I have, I think, really done some good things on it. So on the homepage I have put what I am currently, the videos that are in progress, as well as the research I'm currently doing, so you can at least see what is coming up if you're interested in that a little better than before. So let me get this settled, and then I may show that to you so you can see that. Well, actually, I'll show that during the announcements, so we'll just go forward. Right, so I've got that, Robert. Let's see, what other topics? Julie Patchouli, you mentioned you were going to ask about the Trinity, but you found some of my videos answered your questions. That's good. Yeah, I've got a few videos now on the Trinity, and again, on my website, you can find all those videos on the website pretty easily. If you just scroll down to the lists of videos, and then you can do a search there. You just type in the word Trinity, and it'll just reduce everything down to just the ones that have Trinity in the title. So that works really well. So the Red Raven, you ask, what is this biblical language you hear about called Paleo-Hebrew? I'm going to put that on the topic list as well. So let me get that here along with Robert's. All right, how many of you guys were able to watch any of the interview that I did with the well, I didn't do the interview. I was interviewed by Noel from Unexpected Cosmology, a YouTube channel. Did y'all see that? Did many of you guys see that? Because I was at first I didn't know much about Joel, and so it was one of these things where I was like, well, is this going to be the right channel? Is this going to be the right material, the right place to talk about what we talk about? And it turned out to be very good, and I really appreciated Noel and the way he conducted the interview. I thought was really really nice. He really gave me a platform to talk and just explain my views. I thought it was really cool. So in all, that went really well. And if you guys are interested, it's probably material that it's of course material that's all over my channel. There's nothing probably new there, but it was a very good interview. We went over a lot of topics too, so that was kind of all right. So let's see what else you got. Just to say some good mornings to Karen N. Preston. Good morning to you. Julia Thomas, Raina Waddell, Linda Connor, good morning. Naomi Anderson, good to have you this morning. You say, what are my thoughts on Revelation 5, 9 through 10? Okay, I'll put that, Naomi, on the... In Revelation 5, 9 through 10, I'm thinking that is... I think that's the part about the throne and the lamb taking the scroll, but just trying to jog my own memory. It's either that or it's something about the churches. I think it's about the throne and the scroll. Okay, so what else have we got, guys? Reno Waddell's good to see you. You say you enjoyed that conversation with Noel on the Unexpected Cosmology channel. He seems like a nice person. You found some of his other videos hard to follow, maybe just because I can't keep up with the Hebrew he uses. Yeah, that's something I noticed about Noel, and I thought that was interesting too. Whereas I, of course, for especially the New Testament, I rely heavily on the Greek, and I believe that's the correct way to do it. But it's interesting that Noel, having used Hebrew versions, I believe, from based on what he said, I think he uses Hebrew versions of the New Testament writings to study for himself, and I think he's come to a lot of the same conclusions that I have on a lot of different topics. So that was kind of cool to see. It took me a little off guard, and yeah, Noel's a cool guy. I thought he did really well on that, and I just really appreciated him having me on. Franken Pope, good to see you, sir. You say your mother likes my content a lot? Great. Good deal. Deborah Hicks, good morning to you. Stacia Lowe, good morning to you. And Terry Barnes. Right. I feel like I saw another topic. Oh, wait, here. I didn't scroll down far enough. Wake up, David. Wake up. Okay. Yes, Deborah Hicks, you mentioned, what is my understanding of Revelation 22:15? Why are people outside the city? Yes, that's that's a tough passage actually, but we can go over that real quick today. Um, we've done it in the past. It's a very difficult little section to fully understand. All right, Laura Masood, good morning to you. Rick Bowser, good morning. 5022 Freedom, good morning to you again. It's good to have you back. Big Boy, good morning to you. Big Boy, I'm not sure I understand what you're saying. Call in, show when, Mr. Scribe. Okay, I don't know if I get what you're saying. Trying to make sure I don't miss anything. You guys are moving fast in the chat. Katie Turner, good morning to you and your mother. It's good to have y'all this morning. Joyce Bippus, good morning to you. And a 1206. Arusia, Armored Raven, good to see you too. Cough Cool, Rafa Sieber. All right. Yeah, we're getting there now. Okay, now I can't even keep up. So, MK Ryan, you said yours probably got buried. Are angels in heaven still able to rebel? To what degree does free will exist in heaven for angels and the people that have died? Oh, I like that topic, MK Ryan. I really do like that topic. So that's going on the list. That's a good one. All right. Good morning to you, Jackie Blue. I think if I'm saying that right. Good to have you this morning. Some of these names, it's tough. Garrett Fort, good morning to you. Sir Puckwaji, good morning to you. You say you've been arguing with the Catholics and Orthodox brothers this week, so you guess things have been going good. Awesome. Ironing, sharpening iron, right? Trying to, at least. Oh, goodness. Naomi, you mentioned that Noel is too law abiding. Yeah, that is one thing we have as a difference. I think we didn't go into that. I'm sure it probably wouldn't have been the best situation for us to talk about those topics. But yeah, I think he and I do differ on that. Big boy, you say, what is my method for testing apocryphal texts? Ah, yes. That's a good topic. Let's talk about that. We don't have to talk long about that. That's a good one. All right. Validus res. Praise the Lord, you say. Good morning to you. Neil Creek, good morning to you, sir. From across the pond. Oh, big boy, you ask if I'll ever have a call-in sometime where people can talk to me like the interview, like a call-in show. Well, big boy, I would do that. The thing about me is that I don't go looking for that very much. I don't go looking too hard at other people's work online. Sometimes I'll poke into videos, especially when you guys suggest something to me. I'll go see their video, see what they're talking about, learn their point of view, but I don't spend a lot of time on that. So I don't know. I'd have to think about that big boy. It's not that I don't want to do it. I think it would be interesting. I just I would have to think about what that looks like. What is the purpose of doing that? I don't know. I'd have to think about it, but it's something I'll consider. If someone ever asked me to come on the show, I probably would generally consider it. But yeah, I typically haven't gone seeking out other people's materials. That's of course freely available on their channels. So I don't know. I'd have to think about it more. I haven't really given it much thought. Linda Connor, you say, what is the message behind the book of Jude? The book of Jude, which is one chapter. So we may be able on this show to go over that really quickly and fit it in today. That might work. And I have one topic that I want to mention, maybe. Because it relates to something we talked about, I believe, last week. So there's that. All right. Okay. Oh, Neil Creek, I apologize. Was I just totally mistaken, or okay? That's cool. You're on shore this week. That's great. Oh, Raina Waddell. Well, if that's what Big Boy is talking about, having some of you guys join me for a chat. I mean, early on in the Bible Scribe channel, there's some of you in the chat today that have been on Zoom calls with me. So there's a possibility that I could do that again. I think that would be fun and interesting. I don't know if we would do that on the Sunday morning, if we might do it in the week sometime, but that would be fun. I've done it before. I didn't broadcast it. Sometimes people are very careful, of course, about the security of that type of thing. So yeah, I could possibly do that. Let's do this. If you're interested in being on a roundtable type discussion with me, why don't you email me? Go to my website, go to my contact page, and email me, and then we'll figure this thing out if we want to do it. I don't have a problem with that at all. Excuse me while I eat some blueberries. I didn't eat a lot of food this morning, so I'm trying to catch up on my nutrition. All right. Yeah, Stacia, you're down for that. Cool. Yeah, no, we wouldn't do 50 people. We wouldn't be able to do 50 people. It would have to be a limited group. Or 60 people or 100 people. I don't know. Yeah, we couldn't do that. it wouldn't actually get us anywhere. So what we would want is a smaller group of people that are interested in talking about a certain subject, and then get them in a room together so we can bat ideas around, throw things out. I think that would be good. 5022 Freedom. I live in the United States. 5022. I don't really give out my location for a few different reasons. But if you emailed me, there's a possibility we could start talking about something. I'm just very careful about some of my privacy. All right. Well, let's go ahead and try to start with some announcements before it gets too far in here. Just so you guys, all of you are aware, even those who I don't know, we do this every week. We try to do this every week on Sundays when I can do it. And what we do is exactly what you've been hearing. We take these comments, these topics that you bring each week, and we take them live. I don't have any preparation other than anything I might have heard about these things beforehand. We may dig into the things as we go, but we go through each of the topics as we can, and we talk about them. We discuss them. We try to get to the heart of the matter. And so that's what we do. And I try to let everybody chime in. Everyone is welcome to be a part of this and chime in the chat. As long as we can keep it, kind and not belligerent. If anyone starts arguing, fighting, spamming, that stuff will get stopped very quickly. But other than that, you're very free to participate here. You're very free to disagree also, as long as it can be done in a civil manner. Just so you're aware of me and my work, I have a website. It's at the top of your screen, bible-scribe.com, where I try to put all the work I do. It's my clearinghouse. It's got everything. I try to keep it as up to date as possible, as my time allows. And so you can find everything that I've done there. The website lets you, like I mentioned earlier, search videos. It makes it a little easier to find videos that are on certain topics, because I do have now, if you count all the videos, probably on both of my channels on multiple platforms, you probably have around 400 or 500 videos at this point. Probably. So anyway, that's a lot. So the searching helps. I don't expect anyone to watch all my videos, by the way. I think that's silly. I don't think you're silly if you have, but I'm just saying, it's not something I would ever expect of someone to think they needed to watch all my videos. But, when you come to a topic that you're interested in, definitely you can go there and find it. So as far as what I've been doing this week, I'll bring up my website, because I want to show you. Oops, I didn't mean to hide the chat there. Move that over there. What I will do is show you what I've added as of this morning to the website so you can see. So right here on the website, look, you can see I've put at the top, I've kept the most recent updates section. So I have the last 2 live streams mentioned there. The video I did on Moana versus Maui, a kind of symbolical review of the movie Moana and how it relates to the Lahaina wildfires, and that's on Rumble and Odyssey. But it also now lists my upcoming videos that I believe I'm going to work through. As you can see, the Cataclysm of Rome Part 4 is there. By the way, Cataclysm of Rome Part 4 is recorded now. I have recorded all the dialogue and video for it. Now the remaining task is to edit it all down. And so I have not lied. I will probably get it out early this week, unless something gets in my way. So the 4th Cataclysm of Rome video, part 4 of the series, and I'm renaming it. I've renamed it to The War of the Ages. It will be out this week after I get it edited. Then another video I want to finish is the Symbols and Signs video. Then another video I intend to make called something like The Destruction of the Occult Nazis. And then another video possibly called God as Satan, The Rise of the Neo-Magi. And that would be an interesting if I get it all together. Then my research, you can see here, there's just the things that I'm studying right now. And of course, they relate somewhat to some of these videos I'm working. The Apocryphal Revelation of John, the Christian Sibyllines, and the book, The Reich of the Black Sun, Nazi Secret Weapons and the Cold War Allied Legend. So, of course, that's in regards to my the destruction of the occult Nazis video, which I can't reveal too much about because if I do, it will spoil it right off the bat. But that's going to be a good one. I'm really excited to do that one, actually. So, and then I just list out my series, Cataclysm of Rome. It's been such a big series. This Cataclysm of Rome series has been such a big part of my life now for the last few months. It's been such a lot of work to get it done. You know, I can't even imagine, I guess, the hours that I've spent on it, probably. Um, but I think it's so valuable. That's why I'm doing it. It's so valuable to us right now, I think, to understand where we are in history, to understand what has happened, what's brought us here, why the world is the way it is right now. That's what is going to be talked about in this fourth video, the War of the Ages. It is what has happened through history, is this battle that we're going to see in the fourth video here. I'm excited about that, to finish that up and bring it full circle and have a full series there that really tells the story. All right. So with all that, let's hide that again and get my chat fixed because I messed it up again. Oh, guys. All right, there we go. All right. Try to catch up on your chats real quick. First, let's go ahead and say our prayer and get started. If you have any prayer requests, please put them in the chat right now. And I will again try to, as I usually do, sometimes I miss them, but I try to get them all in our prayer group chat on Facebook so that we can pray for you and whoever you have a request for. So with that said, let's bow our heads really quick and we will pray to the Father in heaven. Father, I thank you so much for this time. I thank you for the people you've brought to the channel right now that are online and the people that will watch throughout the week. Pray, and I know and I acknowledge that you bring us all here for a purpose. You bring us all here by your hand to do exactly what we're doing, to further your kingdom, to grow, to learn. Help us all to do that, including myself. Give me the knowledge that I need and bring it forward so that I can help people with their questions. Help us to find things as we look online. We look in different sources. We look in the Bible for answers. Lord, bring those to our attention so we see the truth. Give us guidance. We praise you for all the good things in our lives, that we breathe another day, that we can live to help those around us. We give you the honor and the praise and the glory. In Jesus Christ's name we pray to you. Amen. All right, guys. Every week when I say that prayer, I almost get choked up every time. All right, a few more blueberries. Laura Masood, you asked, what are the histories of liturgies and rituals in the church? That's a big question, so I'm assuming that may not be something we can do on the live stream today, but I'm going to put it down as something that I'm going to note, perhaps do in the future here. Okay, so let me put the topics up on the screen for you guys. I can get everything to work right. All right, so let's see here. Here are our topics at this point. All right. Oh, why is everything going wrong all of a sudden? Here we go. All right, they don't quite fit. Them to fit. Come on now. All right. So I have the topic this morning of Marcion. Now there's a certain reason, of course, I'm doing this topic. And you're gonna see something that you may have never have seen before. And it regards this discussion of the God of the Old Testament and the thought that it might be something different than the God of the New Testament, or that whole idea. We're going to learn about the origin of that idea in just a minute here. Then I have Robert, your topic of Psalm 58, 1 to 3. Are all people wicked, essentially? And then Red Raven, you asked, what is the biblical language of Paleo-Hebrew? Naomi Anderson, you ask my thoughts on Revelation 5, 9, and 10. Deborah Hicks, you asked about Revelation 22, 15. So let's see here. Some of these questions go kind of together. So I'll put those biblical, like where we're going to look up a passage and then talk about it. I'll put those together. MK Ryan, you asked about angels being able to rebel. Oh, I love that topic. Love it. Big boy, your question on the apocryphal text, I'm going to put up there near Marcion. It's a little bit related-ish. Linda Connor, your topic of Jude is also part of this whole going through the Bible stuff. So let's do that. I'm going to also move MK Ryan, yours up a little, so we make sure we get to that. And then we'll finish up the day today with going through the Bible verses that you guys have mentioned and talking through those. So if you guys are ready, let's get going. Let's do this. Got a lot to do today. Let me see here where you guys are. Make sure I've got everything ready to go. All right. Puckwidgey, yes, you're right. I didn't get to your question from last week. That's something that's starting to happen. So let's just be honest here. Like, it's hard for me to be able to get to all of these things. Now, Puckwidgey, because we're getting so many more people now on the live stream. Okay, we're getting so many more people, which is great. It's great. I have no problem whatsoever with more people, as long as we can do this thing. So what's happening now is we're getting so many topics that it's almost impossible for me to get them all in. So yeah, Puckwidgey, I really apologize for that. But that's going to start to happen. Let me do this. I will take a note down to look back at your topic from last week. And then I will try to like figure out what I'm going to do about this kind of thing. Okay. Because I don't want people I don't want you coming away feeling like I've ignored you in any sense. I know and you probably understand. I know you understand this, but there's just a lot. And, you know, I have said in the past that maybe I would try to do some of the topics we miss during the week. And I've just been so focused, of course, on these bigger videos, this bigger body of research. That's like when I have my free moments in the evenings after work, I use them for those big projects, right? And so it's just been, it's tough for me to get to all of that. So, you know, there's no telling what might happen in the future as far as my time allocation, my job, because I do work a full-time job, right? So this is an extra thing I do, not my primary career. So anyway, all that as a big fat excuse for why I didn't get to your topic, Puckwidgey. But maybe I can do something about that. So just give me a little time here. All right, so with that, let me set the title so that we can go into this first topic. And that is Marcion. All right. So this is something I researched the other day. Oh, doggone it. I keep turning off the chat. Why did I do that? Okay, here we go. I was researching the other day. Because of our discussion, was it last week or the week before, when we were talking again about this topic that's gone straight through all of the truther movement, this topic of that the God of the Old Testament is wicked and evil, and that's not the God that is the Father of Jesus Christ. This idea, has gone all viral all over YouTube and TikTok and all this garbage, okay? And I've fought it tooth and nail since the beginning. Because there's so many reasons I don't see it as a viable a viable concept, a viable idea. Now, I'm not going to fight against that idea in this video and right now. What I'm going to do is show you where that came from, the only place in history that that idea came from. And as I said before, there's no evidence through any scholarship for the past 2,000 years that this is the truth of the situation, that the God of the Old Testament was evil and the God of the New Testament was good, and it was a different God. There's no scholarship or Christian learning theologists. Nobody has agreed that that has ever been the case. So it is now this revived idea that has come out in the last couple years. And so I've warned people against that. I've warned people against it many times. And then what we see now, as I've dug into the understanding of who Marcion is I found something even more interesting. Now, what I'm going to do is pull up on the screen for you. I'll just go there, and I'll just do the easiest thing you can do any time of the day. You can go to, you type Marcion into a search engine, you'll see Wikipedia's page comes right up. Marcion of Sinope. I'll try to zoom in so you guys can see here. Okay. Was a theologian in early Christianity. Marcion preached that God had sent Jesus Christ, who was distinct from the vengeful God who had created the world. He considered himself a follower of Paul the Apostle, whom he had believed to be the only true apostle of Jesus Christ. His doctrine is called Marcionism. Now, early church fathers from the 1st and 2nd century, such as Justin Martyr, Irenaeus, and Tertullian, all denounced Marcion as a heretic and an antichrist. And he was excommunicated by the Church of Rome at 144 AD. This is before even the corruption of the Church of Rome. This is when the Church of Rome was still an apostolic plant inside Italy. It was still the Church of Peter at this time. He wasn't alive, but it was one generation from his founding in Rome of the Christian church. Marcion published his own canon of the sacred scriptures, etc., etc. Yes, yes. Now, what's interesting is, this is a part of a series on what? Gnosticism. Yes, it is, because Marcion was a Gnostic in every sense. He believed in the archons, the demiurges, the Sophia, the wisdom, all separate from God and Christ. He believed in all of this type of stuff. Now, what's interesting is that according to Christian sources, Marcion's teacher was Simonian Cerdo. Cerdo. Now, let's look up Cerdo. Who is Cerdo? If this was Marcion's teacher, who is Cerdo? Well, definitely a Gnostic. Cerdo was a Syrian Gnostic who was deemed a heretic by the early church at the time of his teaching around 138 AD. Cerdo started out as a follower of what? Whoa, who? He started out as a follower of Simon Magus. Simon Magus. Now, if you know what I've taught about Simon Magus, apart from simply all the evil, horrific things he did, the demons he conjured, the tricks he would use to trick people into worshiping the Caesar, because he was the Caesar's puppet. You know from the studies I've done that he was the second beast who made people, caused them to worship the first beast, Nero. So the lies that we are talking about, passed down from Simon Magus to Cerdo to Marcion and Valentinus. Now he's another Gnostic that the early church fathers wrote heavily against. And this is way before, by the way. Let's please couch this in the correct time frame. This is way before the Catholic Church was a thing. Okay, 200 years before, just about, the Catholic Church was a thing. And so we can see here that the teachings of Marcion are the same teachings, for one, that are being taught now, that have been revived in the past 2 years in the truther community. And not only that, but that those teachings came from, I mean, it's mind-boggling. Literally, the probably most evil, or one of the most evil people in all of recorded history, whether you're a Christian or not, one of the most evil people in all recorded history, Simon Magus, was the progenitor of the ideas that are being discussed now in online Christianity. So I hope that hits you as hard as it hit me when I saw this last week. Because if there is anything about this idea or concept or movement, whatever you want to call it, that strikes you as wrong or strange or fishy, this should be it. That the ideas literally came from Simon Magus and no other person throughout history. It is a Gnostic teaching. It is a subversive, evil teaching. Simon Magus's whole intent with his work and his teaching was to take people away from Christ and away from God. That was his whole reason for existence. So I felt like that was powerful enough that it should hit every single one of us square between the eyes, so that we understand how dangerous this type of idea is. And it's not that the idea is dangerous. I'm not trying to be like one of these weirdos who's like, banning things. But this is one thing that probably should not be. It's bad. I don't know how else to say it. It's very insidious. And if you have gone this direction with some of your thinking, your thoughts on the God of the Old Testament, I encourage you to come back from that. Come back from it. This is, to me, scarier now than it has ever been. And that's why I posted on Facebook this week. I posted that that was the time at which I had found this out. I said, I am now more convinced than ever that this is a plant by the dark side to take people off of the track to get towards God. To take people right off the track. While there's this resurgence, this awakening of people coming back to the kingdom, this is a derailment that has been put in front of us to take us off the path. And I really feel so strongly about that. I can't even express it. So all my concern for you and your understanding and your well-being and your eternal destiny is what I'm trying to communicate right now. I'm concerned for people that follow this teaching. So that's all I'll say about it. What are you guys saying in the chat here? I just wanted to lay that out for you and kind of show you, because I don't think many people are going to even the trouble to find that information. It's right there. It's even in Wikipedia. They don't even hide it. It's very concerning to me. Very concerning. Yeah, see, many of you are saying that you have friends or relatives or whatever that are caught up in it and have thought it or think it and are confused. And I get it. I understand it. It's so easy for that to happen. It's so easy. And I don't tell anyone that has been caught up in it, or you think that that's, or even maybe you're still like, well, I hear you, Bible scribe, but man, I've heard some interesting things. I get that, but we got to be careful here. We just really have to be careful. I'm just very concerned for people. So anyway, I thought I'd just present that this morning and let you guys have it so you know it. Maybe you can share it with people. Maybe you can share that with people so that they can see that. All right. So let's go forward then. Let's go forward. What's our next topic here? Next topic is, Big Boy, you asked me, what is the method, my method, for testing apocryphal texts? Okay, let's do this. Does this fit? Yeah, that fits. Okay. So, Big Boy, to answer your question, what is my method? My secret method for testing apocryphal texts? All right. It's funny you asking that because I'm studying some pretty heavily right now. Uh, you know, I'll tell you this: I've never met an apocryphal text that I didn't like, and that doesn't mean they're all right, that they're all like 100% factual or anything. But the only thing that I can tell you is that in all of my reading of apocryphal texts, the only thing I can say is that it has made me stronger. It has made me understand more, see more things, um, know more about the thoughts and ideas of the time period that it was written in. Uh, Regardless of the factual nature of some of those apocryphal texts, every single one has helped me. Okay, helped me grow, helped me learn. So, and I try to do that with temperance. I don't go into an apocryphal text. So, for instance, I'm currently reading this text called the Apocryphal Revelation of John. Some scholars are calling it the second revelation of John, etc. There's actually a few names for it because it's just a writing that was found and it wasn't real popular as far as I guess. It wasn't canonized or anything like that, so it's gotten different names throughout the centuries. But this writing uh, is simply adding to what I know of things that are already in Scripture, and it also is dovetailing in and out of the things I see in Scripture. So that's, I guess, my first thing I do when I read an apocryphal text is I compare it, of course, exclusively with the Bible, with the 66 books that we have in the Bible. Uh, I I feel that the 66 books are probably the most well attested of all of the writings, Christian or Jewish writings anywhere. They're probably the most well attested because they've been in circulation and use so long by so many people throughout the centuries, the ages. I really, of course, trust 66 books of the Bible. So my first step with the apocryphal text is to be comparing them as I read them. Does this say the same thing? Does it back up what's in the scripture? Does it support what's in the scripture or add to it? Does it contradict the scripture? There are some cases, for instance, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I don't want to misspeak here. One of my most favorite pseudepigraphal or apocryphal writings is the first book of Adam and Eve. Now, I will freely admit to you, if I'm not mistaken, that it messes something up or it says something contradictory in the account of Cain and Abel in the first book of Adam and Eve. I believe it either switches them or something. I can't remember. Like the good one is the bad one or something or other. It's weird, and I haven't studied enough to put my finger on why that's such a discrepancy. But everything else in the text backs up and supports and goes along with the Bible, and seems to actually also expound on what's in the Bible. So that's an apocryphal text that I would consider is very valuable because of the information that's in it. However, there seems to be a discrepancy. Can I fully explain the discrepancy? No, I cannot. I cannot fully explain that discrepancy. Was it a scribal error on the copy that we have? Was it there's no like worldview or religion that it aligns with. It's not Gnostic in tone or tenor. Nothing about the writing seems Gnostic. So if that was a mistake or if it was just, who knows what it was. So that's one of those types of things where I'm discerning, but I would lean towards, of course, the Bible for that specific passage of text about Cain and Abel. And I would lean away from using the first book of Adam and Eve to explain that scenario, that event in history. So if that helps you understand how I go about things, you know, there is a point I think at which you can be a little too accepting of these texts. For instance, we talk about the Book of Enoch all the time. Well, the Book of Enoch, as we know it, the first Book of Enoch is, as I understand it, actually a few writings kind of put together. And so there's things in there that seem a little wonky, just a little, but the overall tone is in line with the scripture. It supports and backs up parts of scripture, and it also adds to that. It adds to the understanding of what's going on in scripture, it adds to prophecy. So, all in all, it doesn't have the tone of a non Christian or anti Christian document, and it instead seems to support much of the scripture and even expound on it. So, that is a very important, I think, also writing. You can see how I approach this. It's with a very metered approach, a very careful approach. Now, you must admit, though, there's a lot of texts out there. You can go to I think it's called gnosticlibrary.org or naghammadi.org or something like that. You'll see tons of texts that are, quote, apocryphal, if you will. They are all Gnostic texts, and it's well known. And in fact, if you read those texts, you will know for a fact that they are very Gnostic because they talk about the demiurge and Metatron and the archons, all these weird names, the angels. They talk about these things that were a part of Gnostic religion. So it's very easy to identify those texts. It's not insidious. There's not like they didn't take whole, writings and then rewrite them with a little twist to screw you up for Gnosticism. That's not how it works. The Gnostic texts were written by the Gnostics as their working scriptures. And so they had these texts, and they were full of the Gnostic ideas, full of them. So when you read a Gnostic apocryphal writing, it's very easy to tell the difference between that and a Christian apocryphal writing. So for instance, when I see the apocryphal revelation of John that I've been studying, it looks like a full-on Christian text. There's nothing Gnostic in it. And it's talking about the end of the world and the great white throne judgment. So to me, that's a very helpful text. I'm going to read it. I'm going to take it as the understanding of some of the people of that time period, and then I'm going to merge and mesh that in with what I know from the Bible and from many, many other Christian writings of the time period. So I hope that gives you my kind of approach. There may be something I'm missing here as far as what I do, but I think that's generally how I do things. When someone tells me about a writing, by the way, I don't ever say, well, I'm not going to read that because I think that's a Gnostic writing or I don't know, heretical writing. I pretty much will almost read anything because I have a good enough sense now on me as far as where these writings come from. I can tell a Gnostic writing right off the bat, so it's very easy for me to do that. I definitely take in all the information and then pass judgment, okay? Whereas, I will have to say that many people, they don't take in the information and they pass a judgment before they've read anything. I mean, would that be the case with you, big boy, or with anyone else on the call? Like, are you quicker to pass by extra biblical texts because you don't know about them, or you've heard someone say they might not be true, or there's some inaccuracies in it or something? Do you pass by and then look online for someone that's already read it, or do you just go read the document and learn for yourself? See, I started doing that a while back, where every time I said, screw this, I'm not going to talk to anybody else about what I understand about these texts, because I've now found too many times that what people say online is just plain wrong about these texts. I was like, I'm going to it myself. I'm going to read it for myself, and I'm going to pass my own judgment on this text. And so that's what I do now. That's my approach. So I think that explains it. And I hope that gives you guys maybe a little idea of some guidance you may want to take when you're looking at texts like this, extra biblical things. But please, as I do, the first step is to judge everything by the scriptures. Judge everything, compare it. Where does it fit in line with the scriptures? Where does it conflict? That's the important part. So let me look here at your statements. Some of you still talking about the Gnostic stuff, which is fine. It's fine. Man, y'all are going places in the chat. All right. So Jackie Blue, you said a good thing. You said if Jesus quoted it like a writing or something, or if the Bible writers quoted it, then you believe it should be taken seriously. Yeah, I agree with that. There's a lot of texts that are mentioned by the Bible. Those are generally older texts, pseudepigraphal works from the Old Testament time period. Like there's actually quite a few books. For instance, Jasher is mentioned in the Old Testament. The writings of the prophet or seer Gad. I'm not remembering all of them off the top of my head. There's probably about 12 or 13 different writings that are mentioned in the scriptures that are referenced. So yeah, I would agree with that statement. Yeah. Okay. Let's. All right. Let's move on, I think, guys. I think you guys are talking about some of this, but you're saying some of the same things I've said or talking about the Gnostic stuff. Yeshuans of Yahuwah, you say there are contradictions throughout the 66 books as well. That's why we study in the Spirit. Well, I would, I get that, but I think the majority of those quote conflicts are actually resolvable. I have seen very few of those quote conflicts in the scriptures, the 66 books. I've seen very few of those conflicts that can't be explained or worked out, especially with the addition of helpful extra biblical writings that sometimes clarify things that were happening. So I would challenge some of that statement a little bit. Okay. Well, you give, I see Yeshuans of Yahweh, but that you mentioned that Jeremiah said that only 4,600 Israelites went into Babylonian captivity. Yeah, now numbers are difficult. Okay, so numbers are a specific case because there have been so many translations and retranslations and copies of copies. We find that the Septuagint has different numbers than the Masoretic. We find different things like that. The numbers are the one place where I give leeway because you've got humans that are copying this text down, okay? So my opinion is that some of those are even resolvable simply in the fact that the numbers, whether they're important or not, um, are really not that important sometimes, especially when the number of people that did this or that, So I don't know. That to me is just not a very big issue whatsoever. All right. I think we're going to have to move on to the next topic so we get moving here. Okay. So the Red Raven, you asked, what is Paleo-Hebrew? So let me put that up on the screen and we will talk. What Paleo-Hebrew? So for this, I would like to go ahead and bring up the browser and just kind of look. I mean, I know what Paleo-Hebrew is, but I would much rather have someone else explain it than me. It is a very ancient form of Hebrew, okay? And I believe, let's see what it says here. Paleo-Hebrew. Paleo-Hebrew script, also Paleo-Hebrew, Proto-Hebrew, Old Hebrew, is the writing system found in inscriptions of the Canaanite languages from the region of southern Canaan known as Biblical Israel and Judah. It is considered to be the script used to record the original text of the Hebrew due to its similarity to the Samaritan script. Talmud stated that the Hebrew ancient script was still used by the Sumerians. So Paleo-Hebrew is a form of Hebrew. It's very ancient from what we understand. It's one of the most ancient forms of it. And I'll show you a comparison if I can get to it real quick. Let me see this here. I'll show you a comparison between normal Hebrew and Paleo-Hebrew. they're very actually similar in a lot of ways. Pardon me a second while I get it up. All right, here we go. Yeah. Well, that's not giving me what I thought. Okay. Well, the Hebrew, the letters here. Okay, this is interesting. So I may be learning a little bit here too, Red Raven, about Paleo-Hebrew. Trying to find. I thought I had a comparison chart, so I'm looking over here. I'll show you guys what I'm looking at. I have these comparison charts of different forms of the Hebrew language. There's also a pictographic Hebrew, a hieroglyphic Hebrew that was, as far as we understand, one of the most ancient forms of the language. But I thought I had, you can kind of see here, if I get, oh goodness, trying to get everything set here so I can show you and clearly show you what I'm trying to say. Okay. So over here, you can see this is Paleo-Hebrew. It's happening over here. But you can see how Hebrew morphed from a hieroglyphic language. Okay, it was pictures. It was all pictures. This is the chart I was going to bring up. I really use this a lot actually because it is so helpful. You can see how the earliest, on the far left column, these forms of the Hebrew language were very pictographic. So for instance, the Aleph was the ox head and it looked like an ox head, right? And so the Hebrew language started as these hieroglyphs that were pictures to form their language by putting pictures together. And that's why sometimes when I do Hebrew word studies, I will take the letters of the Hebrew and I will look at this. I'll sometimes use this exact chart and I look at the meaning and the pictograph, the picture that was the original hieroglyph for that letter. And then I will also use the meaning that's derived out of those pictographs for further understanding regarding the word, because that's where these words came from. That's where these letters came from, is these pictures. So perhaps that helps a little. I probably could and should study the Paleo-Hebrew a little more, but based on what I see right here, based on this little, I don't know, chart of Paleo-Hebrew letters, these also look to me very similar to the Hebrew letters that I'm used to. Like the Lamed and the Dalet, they all look very similar. Like these are very specific correlations to Hebrew letters that are in all the other different alphabets of Hebrew, whether it's the hieroglyphics or the more modern versions of Hebrew. These are all the same letters. And so I guess if that helps, let me see if you've said anything about it, Red Raven. Then, Pat, you say Trey Smith has a great breakdown between the modern and ancient Hebrew. Yeah, that's cool. So, Red Raven, you said that this does help. Understanding how it has morphed over time is helpful in talking with others. Yeah, you know what's interesting to me, Red Raven, about the study I've done in Hebrew, is that you realize that almost all language came from Hebrew. For instance, the letter R in English it amazes me that the letters in Hebrew are the root foundation of what we have in English, in the English language today. Letters in our language have come from Hebrew. You know, that to me is another interesting fact, that pretty much all of the language of modern history has roots in Hebrew. In these languages, these letters we're looking at here on the screen. For instance, let's go down to the Resh. You see that? Do you see the Resh down here? It's kind of low, but it's down here on your screen. Does it not look like a lowercase r? That's because our lowercase r actually came from the Resh in the Hebrew language. And no one ever taught me this. No one ever told me this. You'll see here, I'm trying to get all this on the screen, right, so that it's easy to see. This is just some of the cool things I've found out about the Hebrew language. You'll see here the ta was originally, it looked just like a T. Well, that's the T sound. And then they changed it, and at some point, like, laid over on its side, and then in more modern Hebrew, it looks a little different, but it still has the two lines that come out of each other. So the T is actually also rooted in ancient Hebrew. Then we get to, like, shin, the S. You see how the S, it actually looks a little like a W here, but the S originally, it came from Hebrew. And then, of course, you see the Resh up there. It just, to me, when I started seeing this, I was like, why do they not teach us this? They don't teach us that language was all rooted in Semitic Hebrew, all of it. So it's just really interesting, amazing. So anyway, I guess I can leave it there. Right, I'm just looking at your chat, guys, see what you're saying here. 5022 Freedom, do we think the English language was the tongue of angels? No, I don't think that. The writings that talk about people going to heaven and hearing the language of the angels, they say that it cannot be uttered by humans. So if that's the angel language we're talking about, I would say that's probably not any earthly language. Kelsey, you say this is interesting, Kelsey. So you say that when you took Latin in high school, they told you that all languages came from Latin. What is the origin of the Latin language? Do you know the origin of the Latin language? The Vatican. The Catholic Church is the origin of the Latin language. And so it makes sense that they will now teach you, and this is some of the stuff that is in my Cataclysm of Rome series. They teach you that they are the origin of all good things. All languages, they are the origin, right? Bull crap. I mean, the more and longer I study what the Roman Catholic Church has done to humanity, I don't want to just sit here and rant, but I could rant a long time, a long, long time. And what it specifically has done to Christianity. Man. All right. Rafa Sieber, you ask, what language do I think was spoken during the millennial reign and which books were written? Well, as far as I understand, of course, and my understanding is different than some people's on the millennial reign, being a heavenly reign, but also a time of peace on earth. I believe that they used their native languages. There was no special language that they used during the millennial. And in fact, there were probably more languages in use at that time than many other times in history. There was no standard language, as far as I understand it, throughout, for instance, all of Europe, or Africa Palestine, all. I believe Greek was a big part of it. Greek was spoken all over the Mediterranean basin, but then when you get into Europe, the Germanic peoples, they had different languages. They had so. All right. Red Raven, you say you join me in my rant on the Catholic Church. All right, let's go on towards our next topic, guys. Go for MK Ryan. Are angels in heaven still able to rebel? Yes. You like this. Are angels in heaven still able to rebel? So, MK Ryan, thank you for this topic. I believe the answer to your question is yes. Angels in heaven, by the way, as we understand from the book of, well, the book of the Bible and the book of Enoch, many other pseudepigraphal writings, even in the book of Revelation in chapter 12, it talks about the angels falling from heaven. Well, the reason they fall is because they've made a decision against God. Now, this is one of the things that I talk about with, I really try to make Calvinists very angry with this one. And I say, well, how did Satan rebel from God, or the angels that fell with Satan, if there's no free will? And they generally can't answer it. They just sidestep it and say, oh, that's a stupid question, or stupid stuff like that. Or they're forced to admit that angels have free will and they are able to make decisions that would take them out of their position in heaven. Okay? And that's what we see in the scriptures. We see that angels can make a decision. They can go rogue. Just like, in fact, you or I, we can go rogue. So the reality is that angels always have had free will. It's part of their makeup as created by God. In fact, God seems to create individuals, different types of beings, humanity, angels, all the many varieties of angels with free will. Intentionally, God does it intentionally. Jesus Christ himself says that I have a will that's separate than my Father's. So apparently, Jesus Christ had free will. This is something that Calvinists really have a hard time with, but I feel is absolutely true. And so the facts that angels can at any time choose to disobey God, just like any of us can do, go against his will, and essentially the quote fall from heaven is because at the point an angel decides that they can no longer or will no longer serve God and they start to rebel, they must be cast out because God cannot have them near himself when he is holy and they are not. So that is the reason for the casting out of Satan. So yes, in general, I would just say angels can rebel at any time. And it's funny that Noel and I talked about that this week on his live stream for the Unexpected Cosmology channel. We talked about aliens because I had said to him in our discussions prior that I just had done a lot of research on them and I knew a lot about that as a conspiracy type topic, and so that's why we talked about aliens during that. But part of that discussion about the spiritual activity we see in the world right now, we see UFO activity, we see some of that, of course, is human activity, some of it's not. We see angelic activity. I believe some of that is because these angels, just think about this. If we are nearing the end, if we are nearing eschatological big things, and I believe that would be the final judgment and the end of earth, then what do you think that the angels that have fallen or are trying to grapple with what's going on? Wait, Satan's got a huge kingdom down here. God's got a huge kingdom up here. I've been on God's side for so long, but Satan's making some hay over here. These beings, all these different spiritual beings, angels and otherwise, are in an awkward position right now So they are having to decide for themselves. Am I going to follow Satan to the depths of hell, or am I going to follow God and Christ's kingdom? And so the ones that have already started to follow after Satan and made the decision to fall from their position with God, they are waging war against the kingdom of God right now. They are doing everything they can to lie and cheat and trick humanity and spiritual beings into going along with the kingdom of Satan. So we have all of that happening right now, right alongside of us, under our noses. We don't even see it because we're not aware of the spiritual and we're not thinking about it. But those are the things that are happening in heaven right now. It's a chaotic time. It's a chaotic time. And God's going to bring all of this to a conclusion. But it's something that you need to think about. If angels have free will, then what does that make the spiritual world look like? What does that make it look like when you're in the spiritual realm and there's all these different, number one, different types of angelic beings, different types of spirits, unclean ones, clean ones, demons, all of this, jinn, you name it. There's been all these different fairies, and then you realize that there's free will involved. Wow, it is a very complex and amazing cosmos that God has created with all of these different beings and the ability to choose him or fight against him. So I think that's what I would respond there with. Let's see what you guys are saying here. I noticed that you guys were praying for somebody here. And I want to make sure I didn't miss something. Perusia, you mentioned Joanne will be praying in the name of Jesus Christ for their salvation. Joanne, you mentioned pray for your children's repentance unto salvation. So I'm going to take that down, make sure we get that for our prayer group. Sorry, I've got to catch those as they go by. They go by so quick, and I don't want to miss that kind of a thing. So thank you for that, Joanne. All right. So Joanne, I did get that for our prayer list. I will pray for you, and we will pray for you. All right. Deborah Hicks, you say, do the rebellious beings hate God or just humanity because God only redeemed humanity? That's an interesting thought. I have a hard time understanding why an angel who's so close to God and is, in heaven, seeing these spiritual things, is able to deny that. And then, but we have to look back at Satan when we question, like, what would a motive be for an angel to reject God and go with satanic forces? To me, if you look at Satan, it was all about pride. And for one, Satan, in many texts, by the way, not necessarily the Bible, but in other texts, it also explains Satan was intended to serve Adam when Adam was created. That God said to the angels they were going to serve mankind, not all of them, but that there were some angels that were going to serve mankind, and Satan didn't want any part of that. So Satan's response to that was that I came first, and I am beautiful, and look at me, I'm wonderful. I shouldn't have to bow down to this man that you created. And so it was all about pride and self-pride, and the inability to humble himself before God and God's commands or before humanity. And so I do believe there is this tension between angels and humanity. There's a tension because of what happened with Satan and the Garden of Eden, okay? And the fact that Adam was created for this certain purpose. There was a purpose of leadership in the realm of God, of stewardship over the earth and all of creation, stewardship over all of that. And that the angels were supposed to be helpers to Adam, to steward it, to do it, to run it, to manage it for God. And so because Adam fell and because Satan was successful in degrading the human which God had created, to this physical existence. It messed everything up, and now there's this huge tension in both, of course, the physical world, but there's this huge tension in the spiritual world, because the angels see Satan's war against God. They see it happening. And some of them, I think, are swayed by, again, their own desires for autonomy, for not being subservient to God's will, or even in some cases man's. And so there's this just huge thing going on. It's so complex, really. I hope I'm saying it right. I feel like I'm stumbling around this, but yeah, I think that all that is going on and more in the spiritual realm, and it's just that we don't see it that makes us kind of unaware of the facts. That just as it is with humans, humans can change, humans can make good decisions, humans can make bad decisions. Angels can do all of that as well, and are doing it. TKNF, you think that Satan is not an entity but a title? I would have to disagree. I mean, pretty much every Christian writer from the time of Christ and before and forward has seen Satan as a being. Now, you want to go back in history, you can find his name is Azazel. His original angel name was Azazel. So I don't know. I don't even know where that statement comes from. Yes, of course, Satan means enemy. That's why in Revelation chapter 12 it says it's the dragon, it's the devil, it's Satan, it's all these things. It's all the same being. It is a being. Satan is not a name, it is a descriptive, but it's used as a name. I don't know why it's not hard to understand. His name is Azazel, okay, if you want to know the truth. All right, so let's move forward because we've only got so much time. Let's move forward. What's our next topic, guys? Robert, you asked me Psalm 58, 1 to 3. 58, 1 to 3. You asked, are we all wicked? Let's see. Are we all wicked? Wow, that's gross. I don't want to talk about that. Oh, come on. Fighting with my windows here. All right, let's get this, and I'll share my screen again. Here. Oh no, what's wrong with my... Oh, my green screen is going all wonky. Must have had some sunlight. Yeah, that's what happened. Sunlight came out, so it's changing the whole white level of the room, and my chroma key is messed up now. So let me fix it. It's like, don't look at the man behind the curtain. Not supposed to see. All right, that's better. Okay, I fixed it. All right, so the topic of Psalm 58, 1 through 3. Let's go straight there, and we'll talk about it. Psalm 58. Well, that's not good. Psalms 58. There we go. 1 through 3. So here it is on your screen. Let's read it together. Do you indeed speak righteousness, O congregation? Do you judge uprightly, O ye sons of men? Ye in your heart work wickedness. Ye weigh the violence of your hands in the earth. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they are born, speaking lies. Well, to me, who was it? Let's see. This was Robert. Yeah, Robert. This is not talking about everybody. It's not saying everybody's wicked. This passage is saying that the wicked, whoever they are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they're born. So he's talking about a type of person that is actually bent towards wickedness. It's not saying that everyone is wicked. It's just talking about the wicked people, not the good people. In contrast to this, you could think of the righteous. And that's, of course, he's actually making that contrast in verse 1. He says, do you indeed speak righteousness, O congregation? Do you judge uprightly? He's saying, no, you're not. You're wicked. You in your heart work wickedness. You weigh the violence of your hands in the earth. Their poison of the wicked is like the poison of a serpent. They are like the deaf adder that stops her ear, meaning the snake that whispers into someone's ear, which will not hearken to the voice of charmers, charming never so wisely. Break their teeth, O God, in their mouth. Break out the great teeth of the young lions, O God. Let them melt away as waters which run continually. When he bends his bow to shoot his arrows, let them be cut as in pieces. Man. Let them melt away as a snail. Let them pass away. Like the untimely birth of a woman needing a miscarriage, that they may not see the sun. Oh, man, that's harsh. And he says, the righteous shall rejoice when they see the vengeance. The righteous will wash his feet in the blood of the wicked, so that a man shall say, verily is there a reward for the righteous. Verily, he is a God that judges in the earth. Now, again, aside from all this vengeful talk, the vengeance is God's in the end, okay? So it's not saying that the righteous will go forth and slaughter all the wicked. It's saying, of course, that God is the judge that will send vengeance upon the wicked. So anyway, does that even start to answer your question you kind of came with there, Robert? I want to make sure that I kind of get that right. Squiffy Bear, you say, what is the biblical definition of wickedness? Well, that's an interesting question. Let's look up this word, wicked. Let's go straight to it in the Hebrew. The wicked, the resaim. Now, re or Rapha is fallen. So you start to see this idea of the wicked when we see the. By the way, this root ra or re is the root of. That's why I said the Rephaim. The Rephaim, you know of that term in the Old Testament. That is a reference to a tribe or a group of Nephilim, okay, giants, a race of giants. The Rephaim, but the word Rapha or Reph is the root of the word fallen. It means fallen. And so you see that the word wicked here in the Hebrew is the same kind of root. Evil man, wicked. It's almost always translated wicked. Let's see if there's any other. Yeah. So I guess that's all I would be able to say about it without deeper study there, Squiffy Bear. But I think that kind of tells you where my head is when I see that word, Rasha or Rapha or all that kind of thing. But I actually kind of, Squiffy, I don't want to take your little question down there because I'd like to study that little further because I think there would be some interesting knowledge to be gained by a word study on wicked in the Bible. I think there really would. So I'm going to take that down in my notes for after. That down here. All right. So if that's fine, and I don't see any responses from Robert at the present, so I'll go forward then to our next topic. That was a quick one, but that's good too. We need quick topics too sometimes. Naomi Anderson, you asked my thoughts on Revelation 5 verses 9 and 10. Let's do that. Put it on the screen. And we'll just go straight there and start to look at it. Again, we got these few different topics that are all kind of looking stuff up. Revelation 5 verses 9 and 10. We come down here. They sang a new song, saying, "Thou art worthy to take the book and open the seals thereof. Thou wast slain, has redeemed us to God by thy blood out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation." Very good verse. So we need to know, of course, before we just read one verse. Oh, and verse 10 has made us unto our gods. We got to read this right because it's a very touchy, and I may have to go to the Greek on this passage so you can see it. It says, "And hast made us unto our God kings and priests, and we shall reign on the earth." Okay, very good. So we need to know who the they is. Who's the they who sung a new song? Well, as far as we can understand, it looks like who is singing a song already, I think, is where we need to go here. Song. No. I know that the creatures around the throne. Yeah, okay. So here in verse 10 of chapter 4, I'm just trying to make sure we have the right context before we just attack this verse, okay? "The 24 elders fall down before him that sat on the throne, to worship him that lives forever and ever, and cast their crowns before the throne, saying, Thou art worthy, O Lord, to receive glory and honor and power, for thou hast created all things for thy pleasure where they are and were created." So these are the ones around the throne. Also the beasts, the 4 beasts, each of them with 6 wings. These are, as far as I understand it, the cherubim. They are full of eyes within, they rest not, they sing and say, "Holy, holy, holy, Lord God Almighty, which was and is to come." So we are at the throne of God in this passage, John is. And he sees these beasts and the 24 elders. They're all singing songs and praise to God, okay? We come to chapter 5. "I saw in the right hand of him that sat on the throne," of course, that's God, the Father, sitting on the throne with the scroll written on the inside and the outside, sealed with 7 seals, "and a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, Who is worthy to open the book and loose the seals? And no man in heaven or earth, either under the earth, was able to open it. I wept." One of the elders said, "Weep not, behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, has prevailed to open the book. He is worthy to open the book." And of course, this is Christ. So then he sees a lamb as it had been slain, and that is standing in the midst of the elders before the throne of God. And he came and took the book out of the right hand of God the Father on the throne. Okay, now that we have all of that, it says in verse 8, when they had taken the book, when Christ had taken the scroll, the 4 beasts, the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, every one of them having harps and golden vials full of odors, which are the prayers of the saints. So this is the 4 beasts and the 24 elders, the 24 elders, falling down before Christ and singing this song. "Thou art worthy to take the book and open the seals thereof, for you were slain and have redeemed us to God by thy blood out of every kindred, every tongue, and every people and nation." Now, the thing about that doesn't seem to match fully, and you can probably see that, is if this is the beasts and the 24 elders singing this, then why does it say they're out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation? So it seems that when I go back to verse 8 and I see that it says they have the prayers of the saints in these golden vials full of odors, like the prayers are coming out of these vials that they have, that may be the song that is now being said, the prayers of the saints saying this as well. "For you were slain and have redeemed us unto God by thy blood out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation." Now let's look at that real briefly in the Hebrew, or excuse me, the Greek. This would be the Greek. Now, the words behind every tribe, tongue, and people and nation is interesting. So the tribe is philes, and the word philes is a clan or tribe, so it's a small group or a tribe of people. Okay, it makes sense. It is what it was translated as. Then every tongue or glosses, this is literally a language. See, it's a language, it's a spoken language. So people out of every tribe and every language and people, which is this Greek word lao, and that does mean specifically a people, a group of people, either an ethnic or a religious group. And so this is every people and every ethnos, nation. This is the words used throughout the Bible in the New Testament to refer to the nations or even sometimes the principalities of the nations. Now, so that gives you the little kind of like extra help in that what it's saying there in verse 9. These people being taken out of every kindred, every tongue, and people and nation. So these are the people. If this is the prayers of the saints and these are the saints, these are the Gentile nations. These are all of the people. And I would include, I think, in this group, I would include the Jews also. Every kindred, every tongue, every people, every nation. So that's who is doing this now. Verse 10 of this is, you have made us unto our God kings and priests, and we shall reign on the earth. Correct. Now, this is interesting too. We have to go to the Greek here as well. So you have made them to God a kingdom. Now, it's interesting. It reads different in the Greek. So let me try to go slow here. I don't want to go too fast. I'm just trying to slow down. And you have made them to theos, to the God of us. So you have made us to them gods. You have made us like God to them, essentially, is what it's kind of saying. Is that what it's saying? Am I misspeaking here? Let me make sure I get this right. I don't want to mess this up. Okay, this is a very touchy little passage. You have made them the God of us, kingdom and priests, and they will reign upon the earth. This is, okay, let's back up a second. So I think I just realized exactly what this passage is saying. I'm sorry, sometimes I see these passages and I read them and I figure them out one day and then I'll forget the next day what I figured out. I believe this is I'm trying to make sure I don't misspeak. I want to be very careful here. I want to be very careful. The original, of course, understanding of this passage, whenever people come to this, they say, you've made us unto our God, kings and priests, we shall reign on the earth. Well, the earth, by the way, the word earth is land in the Greek. It's not earth. It's not like globe. It's not the whole earth. It's the land. You have made us unto our God, kings and priests. We will reign on the land. Now, the problem I'm having with the Greek is that, number one, like I said, it sounds like the 4 beasts and the 24 elders are the ones that have harps and are singing these songs, even in the prior chapter, not the saints, okay? Even though it says they have the prayers of the saints with them. Although the prayers might be a part of this. I don't understand fully, but I will say this. I have said before, and I still take the position that the 24 elders are the principalities of the nations. Okay, and so the mention here of the nations reinforces that a little bit. And if verse 10 is these 24 elders and the beasts singing this song, then what is it saying? it's saying that these that were slain during the time period are made unto us, meaning the 24 elders and the beasts, gods and kings and priests, a kingdom that would reign. Now, again, you got to look at the Greek to even get close to that. And you got to also go word by word, which I really think I need to do. I need to take more time with this verse. It says, and you can see it here. I'm not trying to add anything here. I'm not trying to change this. Okay, I really want to understand it perfectly. And you have made them and this word to is not to the, it actually is literally the word the. It's the definite article the, okay? And I know that just because I've studied the Greek a lot. You have made them the God of us. Do you see that? It says it right here in plain English next to the Greek. You have made them the God of us. Who is the them? Sounds like it's talking about the ones who were redeemed by Christ's blood out of every kindred, tongue, and people and nation. You've made them our God, our rulers, a kingdom and a priesthood, and they will reign in the land. Okay, in the land. It's not the earth. So, what did God say about the tribulation saints of the time period before 70 AD? He said they would be taken to heaven, given white robes, as Revelation talks about, and that they would reign on thrones in judgment over the nations. Did it not say that? Does it not say that? And you have to know Revelation, you have to know prophecies in the Old Testament to put all this together, okay, a little bit. But these tribulation saints were given these thrones to reign during the millennium over even, I believe, the principalities of the nations. Along with Christ, they reigned with him on thrones. Well, Christ had already been given the authority over these principalities, these 24 elders. The word elder, by the way, it can mean elder in English, but it really just means kind of a high-level ruler, okay? And so I believe that might be getting closer to the right translation of these two verses. And I know we went down a long rabbit trail to get here, but I'm just telling you that based on what I understand of all these different things put together, and the way that this Greek, you can even see for yourself. I don't have to explain it to you. In the Greek, this is strange sounding. If you just read it the way it is presented in the Greek, and you have made them to the God of us, a kingdom and priests, and they will reign upon the earth. The problem I have with their original translation is this word to. It is not to the. They use it as a, they add to it, I think, more than is actually part of that word. And you have made them gods of us, essentially, is what it's talking about. Rulers over us. Anyway, that's an impression I'm getting from that, and that's, you can take it for what it's worth, but I believe that that's what it's talking about. Let me check up with you guys and see where you guys are in the chat. The Red Raven, you say those extracted from Sheol? ? Oh, but you're talking about Deborah Hicks's comment. It seems like the 24 elders are part of the redeemed purchased by Christ's blood. I know, and I think that might be due to some of the translation problems here in verse 9. So if I go back to verse 9, and they are singing a song new, saying, "Worthy are you to take the scroll and to open the seals of it, because you were slain, and you purchased to God by your blood out of every tribe and tongue and people and nation." They are do you see how that reads completely different in the Greek? Okay, we're gonna have to That verse is totally different in the Greek. Do you see that? Let's put this back down on paper, because I think we have to see this the right way so that there's no confusion. When we take the Greek and do this, it's going to make more sense. Let me see if I can get this on the screen in a way that you can see it. All right, so I'll try to make this really big. Okay. So here's Revelation. Revelation 5:9. This is straight out of the Greek, and I'm going word for word. And they are singing a song new. And I'm not even going to change the order of the Greek words, okay? Saying, worthy are you to take the scroll and to open the seals of it, because you were slain and you purchased to God by your blood out of every tribe and tongue and people and nation. Do you see how that reads? It doesn't say what the English is saying. It over here in the English, it doesn't say that you redeemed us to God by your blood. It doesn't say that in the Greek. See here, where is the us? You purchased to God by your blood out of every tribe, tongue, and nation. Let me look at this word here. Yeah, the word here, and I'll go further because I want you guys to see that I'm not making this up. I'm not making this up. Wiktionary.org is an incredible website. You need it if you study Greek or Hebrew. Oh, really? Oh, it's not there. We have similar conjugations of this word in the Greek, but not. See, it's always buying. It's just purchased. You purchased. So back to our translation. I'll just continue to translate here. Now, Revelation 5:10. And you have made them the God. Remember, the word God is never capitalized in the Greek. Never, ever. You have made them, oops, I misspelled them, the God of us, a kingdom and priests, or a priesthood, essentially, and they will reign upon the land. This is what these verses are saying. Can you see that on your screens, I hope? And they are singing a new song. Who's singing? The 24 elders. Saying, worthy are you to take the scroll and to open the seals of it, because you were slain and you purchased to God by your blood out of every tribe and tongue and people and nation. And you have made them a God of us. Meaning the priest, the tribulation saints that reign on thrones with Christ would rule over the 24 elders, the principalities of the nations, and they will reign upon the land. Now, the land is a very broad term. It does not necessarily mean on earth land, although I believe that the reign of the heavenly kingdom, the kingdom of Christ, for the 1,000 years did affect everything on the land. And so either way, whether this is talking about physical land or it's talking about land in heaven where they reign, either way, it makes sense. So this is the last time I remember now coming through this logical path of this translation and realizing this last time that this is the 24 elders saying, you have now set these saints on thrones and they will reign over us, instead of the other way around. The principalities used to reign over the people, over those people. And just as it said, Christ said that these saints would raise up and judge Sodom and the people of Sodom and Gomorrah would be raised up and put on thrones to judge over this wicked generation. Okay, these are the ones that would reign in heaven with Christ on thrones. So if all of that's as clear as mud, I don't feel like I did a great job explaining that or getting there, but I think we've gotten there. So do you understand what I'm trying to say here? Again, my apologies for being all over the place with that, but I thought it was important to get to this place, to see that, to see what is being said. And for some reason, I can't get back to you guys. I want to see what y'all are talking about. Yes, Deborah Hicks, you say to us, not of us. But the word to is not in the Greek. It's literally the word the. There's no us. Is there, or did I get it wrong? Let me just double check real quick. Let me make sure. Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Well, no, I said you have made them the God of us. In the Greek that I have here, and I'll show it again. Oh, that's not the Greek. Here's the Greek. Here it is. In verse 10, them, you have made them the God of us. There. That's what I translated from Himon. So anyway, I hope that helps. I'm not sure if we're talking about the same thing, but all right. If that's not so, you're suggesting that it's. Let me look this conjugation up, because again, this is like beyond a little bit past my skill level to read this. But this form of this word for us, or whatever, hemon, is the genitive of hemes, which means we, us, our. So the word, honestly, Deborah, in the Greek, the word to or of is not even there. Okay, that's what I should have said. The word here is us. It's not of us. But they sometimes, the Greek doesn't have all of the articles that we use, all of the prepositions and pronouns that we, or prepositions that we use. So it's literally saying, and you have made them the God, us. That's what the Greek is saying. But they, and of course, understood the way that the words were being used and would have said of us or to us. I think either way is going to actually give you the same meaning. Gods to us. You made them the God of us, to us. Anyway. All right. I think we're going to have to move forward then. I think we've got way too many topics to even finish today. Deborah Hicks, since you were just talking and yours is actually next, Revelation 22:15. So let's do that really quick, and then I think we're going to have to be done because of the time today. Revelation 22:15. So let me bring that up. And here we go. Oh, I keep messing the chat up, messing it up. No, no, not Telegram. I don't need that. Sorry, guys. Man, so hard sometimes. Revelation 22. Revelation chapter 22, verse 15. Oh, yes, I remember this. Yeah, we talked about this quite a few times before, actually. But to give everybody the context, this is talking about in chapter 22. It's talking about heaven, of course, near the throne of God and the Lamb, talking about the New Jerusalem in the previous chapter. There will be no more curse, no more sin, but the throne of God and the Lamb will be in it. His servants shall serve him, and they shall see his face. There will be no night there. They will not need a candle nor the sun, for the Lord God gives light. He said unto me, these sayings are faithful and true. I come quickly. John saw these things. Let's see. Make sure we get all the context here up to verse 15. Seal not the sayings of this prophecy, for the time is at hand. He that is unjust, let him be unjust still, and he which is filthy, let him be filthy still. Now that's again because John was saying that literally this stuff was going to start happening or happen very soon for them. So he's like, if you're wicked, then you're going to be wicked in the end because it's coming now. If you're righteous, then you're going to be righteous. Behold, I come quickly. The Alpha and the Omega. This is Jesus Christ is always talking of himself as the Alpha and the Omega. Blessed are they that do his commandments. They are that they may have the right to the tree of life and may enter in through the gates into the city. For without are dogs, sorcerers, whoremongers, and murderers, idolaters, whosoever loves and makes a lie. So I guess in response to your question, I guess just my understanding of this is it's kind of multifaceted, but it relies on, for me, the texts I've read where people have gone, prophets have gone to heaven, and they have seen many, many things. They've seen all the different parts of heaven and how it connects to the earth and how it connects to also the underworld, how all of it is kind of connected. So you'll get the story of, for instance, in the Apocalypse of Abraham, where Abraham is taken to heaven, but he goes to this part of heaven and he can see straight down into hell and into the outer darkness. He can see into the depths of Tartarus from heaven. And so what I see this as is that, yes, this is talking about the gates of the New Jerusalem, the city, and that, of course, John is giving this revelation, this vision that God gave him, which I believe is not a vision, it was an experience that God gave him to see the future in heaven. And he is saying to these people, like, it's going to happen now. And in the end, there's going to be the people that are righteous. You're going to be in the city. You're going to be in paradise. He mentions the tree of life. But then he says, outside of all of that, are going to be the dogs, the sorcerers, whoremongers, murderers, all those that make a lie. So really, I just see that as this very general concept. It's not like the wicked are standing at the door of the city begging, let us in, let us in. It's not like that. But John, just like all these other prophets throughout history, have received visions in heaven to see these things. It's more like it is them saying that those who are not righteous will not partake in these things. They will be put on the outside, in the outer darkness, in Hades, in the underworld. And that these people that experience heaven are able to see that even from the second, third, fourth level of heaven. And so it's when you're there, apparently, it's much more apparent that There's God up there, and there's Hades down there. And so for them to say without or outside of paradise, outside of the tree of life, outside of the gates of the city, are the dogs, sorcerers, the wicked, those who love and make lies. Um, it's really just saying that they are excluded from partaking in the good things of heaven, and that they will be taken care of in other places. Now, also, I would mention this: there are a couple places in heaven where degenerate beings are punished. Um, and so, as I understand it, and I may misspeak, but I think it's like the second and third level of heaven, according to a few of the texts, where the ones who were responsible for building the Tower of Babel were kept there and punished by being imprisoned there in like the second level of heaven. And in fact, it calls these the centaurs. Now, I don't fully understand that as far as like why were they centaurs, what changed, or were they centaurs? I don't know all of the ins and outs of that. But there's these areas in heaven that seem to be dedicated to the punishment or imprisonment of certain evil individuals outside of the underworld. So that's interesting too. It could play into this a little bit. But as far as I understand it, that's my take. And you may have a different one, but I know there's lots of opinions about it. But that's how I read this verse, according to and in concert with all the writings of the people that actually saw heaven, including John. So let me check on you guys, see what you're doing in the chat right now. Thank you guys so much for your time today. I think we'll probably be about finished, but get all your last comments in. And again, please put your any prayer requests in there to me so I can get those if there's anything else. Thank you for your time. I see a few of you had to leave, but I appreciate all of you, and it's been a wonderful time. I think we've had a lot of new people, which is great. I expected a little bit of that, and then that's awesome. So thank you for joining us today. Thank you for being a part of this every week, and you can bring a topic as well. So we'll be here. I've had a lot of fun. I think it's been great. Guys, take care of yourselves and watch over your families this week. Be safe out there. It's not necessarily a safe world we live in, so be careful. And I just look forward to seeing you all again next week. We will again do our best to make sure we get to the root of what's in the scriptures, what is there for us, what's true, and understand the things that God has done for us in history. So thanks so much, guys. Take care of yourselves. God bless.